Today's guest is Bryan Neely. Welcome to Veterans Corner, Bryan.
Thank you. It is an honor and privilege to be here.
After Bryan's military service, he started a coffee shop, but calling Billy Goat Coffee Cafe just a coffee shop is like calling the ocean just water. At what point your entrepreneurial insights start to kick in?
They said, Bryan, if you want to understand if this is something you want to make a career of, your first tour, you need to give absolutely everything that you have, and you'll know. You'll find out.
What drove you to join the military and serve your country?
5 years old. Long story short, I was told that I would never be able to run long distance, that I lost 40% of my lung capacity. That was something that just motivated me.
Wow. How did you fix itself, or do you still have that?
I love to put all the effort I have into what I do, and it just makes you better. And
why don't you share a little bit about Rise It Up?
I want to be able to help other people rise up in their own life, in their own way.
What would you tell someone who is in the service right now? Hi, and welcome to Veterans Corner. I'm George Hinestrosa, an Air Force and Army retired veteran, 25 years. Here on the show, we explore how military experience transforms into business success. Each episode features veterans who've built thriving businesses, sharing strategies that turn military training into entrepreneurial advantage. And today's guest is Bryan Neely. Welcome to Veterans Corner, Bryan.
Thank you. It is an honor and privilege to be here.
So before we explore Bryan's military background, we'll just give the audience a little bit of the highlights about you so we know where we're coming from. So after Bryan's military service, he started a coffee shop. And today's guest has a story that reads like fiction but unfolds like truth. Bryan Neely is a man who's lived everywhere from Hawaii to the heartland, served in support of Navy SEAL Team 17, worked in the inner circles of business leaders running $200 million companies, and then made a choice that would make most people question his sanity. He walked away from it all to open a coffee shop. But calling Billy Goat Coffee Cafe just a coffee shop is like calling the ocean just water. This is a place where comedy shows share the calendar with youth, open mic nights, where painting classes happen alongside business meetings, where organic coffee and loaded teas fuel conversation that changes lives. Bryan has created something that shouldn't exist in our transaction-obsessed world, a business that puts community before cash flow, relationships before revenue, and impact before income. While most entrepreneurs are desperately trying to manufacture authentic connections with their customers, Bryan has built something so real that people drive from neighboring towns just to be a part of it. He calls it transformational business. And watching him work, you start to understand that he's not just serving coffee. He's serving up a completely different way of thinking about success, leadership, and what it means to truly serve others. Through his coaching business, Rise It Up, he's taken the same mindset that creates elite warriors, and teaching everyday people how to conquer their own impossible mission. He's living proof that when you stop playing it safe, you start playing for something bigger than yourself. You don't just transform your own life, you transform entire communities. So Bryan, thank you for your service. And before we get into some of your entrepreneurial evolutions, can you tell us a little bit about what drove you to join the military and serve your country?
Absolutely. So I grew up a military kid. My dad was an air traffic controller for 20 years. So I was around the Navy my entire life. But for me, what really drove me is I wanted to be a pilot from a young age, had some opportunities to get to fly, quickly changed my mindset of what I really wanted to do, which was go the special operations route. The whole reason for why I really just have a heart and desire for the service is being able to really serve people is something it's just near and dear. It's in my DNA. I think it's what we were put on earth to do. The side of like wanting to be a pilot and then wanting to go special operations, I had some obstacles that came up along that journey, like a red-green color deficiency I had that kind of diverted exactly what I did in the service. So in the service, I was a Navy Supply Corps officer. Again, the biggest part of it to me was just the ability and the opportunity to, one, see the world, to gain exposure and experiences. From high school, it was being able to just pay for college. I don't come from a family with a lot of money. I came from a lot of hardship, the things I had to overcome as a kid. And being able to pay for school and then guarantee a really awesome career opportunity as soon as you graduate. And then also on the perks on top of that are like, from what I saw with my dad, getting to meet some of the most incredible people that you ever find in the world that are all about a mission and not about just themselves. And that to me is that brotherhood, sisterhood of people that put the mission above themselves and everything they do. And that's a big part of how I try to live my life every day.
So tell us, Bryan, so during your time serving, are there moments that obviously we all, as military service members, we all go through those periods where we have good leadership and we have bad leadership, or we have mediocre leadership? Can you tell us a little bit about those things? So you're this guy that has this keen insight into what you want and how you feel. Did you find when you were in the military, what kind of mental shifts did you have while you were being groomed and perfected?
Yeah, I would say in the military, just like in everyday life, but specifically in the military, there were a lot of days where I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this another day. But I had several years left. And then you have days where you're like, man, I never want this to end.
Right.
Because I've been in places where they were very toxic. I've been in places where the culture was, I got to see the impact I was able to make. And then that toxic culture turned into something that was like really kind of sad. I didn't want to leave at times. I've had leaders that I'm perfectly okay with if I never see another day in my life. And then I've had leaders that I would take a bullet for. You're going to see, just like in everyday life, in the military and outside the military. But I think in the military specifically, you see a lot of people who lead by fear and who lead by just rank. And I never tried to lead that way. I really got to see on the officer side and in the enlisted side some really amazing people that it doesn't really matter what their rank was. It was just, again, that servant-hearted, what are you really here for? And you have the best and the worst of both worlds when you're there. And to me, I think the best part of the service is the people.
Right.
I think the hardest part of the service is also sometimes the people.
Right. Thank you for that. That's great insight. And I think we've all gone through that kind of an experience in our journey, right? Through the ranks. So Bryan, tell us, at what point did you start, and you're still a really young guy. So, I mean, at what point did you start thinking, okay, what's my next move, or how am I going to evolve? Here I am, I'm enjoying this and I'm part of the service. But at what point your entrepreneurial insights start to kick in?
I mean, I would say from the beginning, I had that entrepreneurial spirit, but I didn't know where I wanted to channel it. And so when I was in Navy Supply Corps school for 6 months, I had an instructor that told me, they said, Bryan, if you want to understand if this is something you want to make a career of, your first tour, you need to give absolutely everything that you have, and you'll find out. So I took that to heart, and having my dad, who was retired from the Navy, I had experiences around growing up, but I also had somebody who understood the language and the life. And for me, it was like when I went into the service, my main role is I'm going to do the best. I'm going to be the best at my job because my crew depends on me, and not only my crew, but my crew's families depend on my success. So I wanted to make sure I took that approach in everything I did. And then I would say into my second tour. So I served on active duty for 5 years and 7 months. And my second tour, which was around like COVID time frame, I had to go through all those hurdles. And for me, it was like, I honestly had a lot of ways a golden ticket. I was fortunate enough to, with my first tour, I experienced a lot of just stress and hardship. And it was just extremely difficult of a tour for me. And it was an operation that on paper, people would be like, this kid straight out of college is going to fail. But I was able to succeed. And that was kind of a point where it's like, okay, like it showed people my level of work ethic, my level of care. I went way out of my way a lot of times just to be able to learn and to be able to serve people. And that really helped me. And then my second tour, I had a commanding officer and several leadership around me that were very supportive. And I'm pretty confident is that if the billet was open, whatever I wanted, I could have got. I just was wrestling with this, man. I don't know if I want to do this for the rest of my life, because I looked at an organization and I look at senior leadership and I say, is that where I want to go? Because if I'm going to do this, this is where I'm going to be. And I love the senior officers that I've been around. But for me, it was like, I just wanted to do something different. It's not like it's any less, because it's not. It's a very honorable and hard job. But for me, it was, I wanted to challenge myself in a world that I'd never experienced.
Right.
And I had some personal desires from like just being able to compete as an athlete in obstacle course racing that I wanted to tap into, and I wanted to see what I could do. And I personally felt like I spent a lot of time just praying and seeking wise counsel from people of what should I do? Where should I go? And just the right people and the right places gave me the courage to kind of make that step. And I tell people now that joining the service was the best decision I ever made. Leaving active duty, I think, was second best. Just because that entrepreneur spirit of me has carried me and put me in places and people that I could never even imagine beforehand. The opportunities I've had have been unbelievable.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah. So it's funny how all of these, what we might look at experiences with other people we meet, even though we may have some frictions and have certain aspects of things we don't totally agree with, at the same time, we're still getting built up, right? We're still evolving as a person and we're finding ourselves really is what's happening. The more we look at others, sometimes at my age, and I look back now in hindsight, the more you develop yourself and it helps sometimes. What do they say? Iron sharp as iron, right? So sometimes we have to have those types of experiences to push us into the next level. So you mentioned your physical fitness and your competitions. Tell us a little bit about that. I know you did some pretty incredible challenges. Tell the audience a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it all started when I was a kid. I was 5 years old, and I was told, long story short, I was told that I would never be able to run long distance, that I lost 40% of my lung capacity. And so from a young age, that was something that just motivated me.
Wow.
And I was just that kind of like Rocky Balboa story, that underdog kind of mentality. That's what I've had from really a young age. And so when I was growing up, I was very active in sports, but in college, I had opportunities to do some triathlon. Like I was on our club triathlon team my freshman year, and just kind of awoke some extra curiosity and challenge and that like competitor inside of me again. And a big dream of mine was I wanted to complete an Ironman triathlon, which I had an opportunity to do. I did the Ironman 70.3 after my freshman year of college.
Man.
And then from there, it was just kind of one thing after the other. I eventually got into what I do a lot now is obstacle course racing. So like Spartan racing for a lot of people. And I wanted to see how I could do. I competed at one in Florida, and I took first in this event. And the guy that got second, so I failed an obstacle and was put in a place in a 5K race that if you do that, typically there's no way you're going to win.
Right.
But I had opportunity. I clawed my way back in and actually won the race. And then afterwards, I found out the guy who got second to me the year prior, he had placed second in North American National Series. I was like, man, like I want to see what I can do. Like if I can beat him, then maybe I can win. So I just kind of dipped my toes in it, and then eventually very quickly dove right in and started training. And now I do a lot of like ultra marathon type trail runs, different challenges. I do a lot of obstacle course racing when I get a chance. And then DECA hybrid fitness type events has been kind of what I would say is almost become like a bread and butter of mine to me lately. That's where I had an opportunity to win a world championship back in 2023. And I've had some cool experiences of competing around the world and obstacle course racing, DECA hybrid fitness events, and I've competed in several world championship races, and I've done very well in most of them. Yeah, to me now it's become a community, and it's become a way to make me better. Like I tell people that it's life's greatest classroom.
Yeah, like birds of a feather flock together, right? So who you surround yourself with sometimes has a larger impact than many of us might want to admit, right? It's really your surroundings really might dictate who you end up becoming. So just I have a question on, you said your lung capacity was a little diminished when you were younger. How did you deal with that, especially as a competing athlete at the levels that you were competing? I mean, how did you fix itself, or do you still have that?
So I haven't had a chance to get like a full medical exam in recent years at all. It's something I wanted to do, but for me, it's like I've lived a pretty active life, I would say, for my entire life. And I've been the type of person that's like first in, last to leave. And I put a lot of hours of training. That doesn't always mean like actual time in the gym. Sometimes it's more so my mind than anything else. I think is going into a workout or going into a business meeting or whatever as prepared as I can. And also with the open mind of whatever happens, I'm going to do the best I can. And I'm going to be in a situation. And I just tried to take that approach with, I love that challenge. I love to put all the effort I have into what I do. And it just makes you better. And I think with like those words kind of hanging over my head when I was a kid, just were a motivator that I've used to be like, okay, like my worth, my identity of what I can do is not defined by what somebody with credentials behind their name can tell me.
Right. Very interesting. So Bryan, so as you're competing, I'm very athletic myself. I'm 60 now, and I was active before the military. I was active in the military. I still play soccer at my age. How do you feel that physical fitness, that mental body, mind body, how do you feel that has from going through the military and now into your entrepreneurial life? And you just mentioned that you feels like you try to do the best, but how do you feel that actually carries you, gives you that little bit of more, let's say, confidence when you do things, just feeling good about yourself, or feeling healthy, I should say, right?
I think it makes a big difference. When I look back at my own life and when I was in a moment where I'm not feeling super fit, I see it in my performance of everything I do. When I'm not actively, like routinely working on myself, everything else tends to fail a little, like a fall short a little bit. So I've seen it's just that continuous working on yourself. And I think the fitness component, it's just like a stronger body builds a stronger mind. And I think it kind of goes together in a lot of ways. But also, and I don't know the medical science side of it as well to speak on.
Right.
It's proven out there. It's like we need to exercise. It's good for us. And it's something that it's not always pushing yourself to the extreme. Sometimes it's just getting out there and just like breaking a sweat.
Right.
And making it a routine where you don't have to be an elite athlete that goes on and wins a world championship. Like that's great if you want to push that, but you got to be willing to do what everyone else does and then multiply that by like 1,000,000.
Right.
And it's just I think it's important. The more fit I am, the better I tend to be in business, in my personal relationships, my personal life, because I'm taking care of me. And if you won't take care of yourself, it's very difficult. Arguably, it's impossible to take care of other people.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I found that, I guess, some of the science, and you mentioned the science, right? And we're not getting into science here, but from what I gathered after all these years of actually just keeping myself healthy, is that what people need to understand, and this is my belief, right, is that we have stresses and stressors that come from the outside and affect us psychologically. And the psychological effect of stressors eventually manifest themselves in physical ailments. What they say psychosomatic illnesses and all of this that 80% of people struggle with, they say that 80% of disease and everything has come about due to many years of just worrying, anxiety, depression, drug use, malnutrition, lack of exercise. And the other side of that is that those negative stressors are countered by the physical exercise. So even though physical exercise tends to be also a stressor on the body, it's a different kind of stress that actually amplifies good endorphins, good things that take those other ones, kind of neutralize all the negative, right? And I think that's worth mentioning here for the audience, anyone that's struggling with that. So Bryan, moving on now, starting your business, why don't you share a little bit about Rise It Up? Let's talk about Rise It Up before we get into the cafe.
Yeah, so Rise It Up is a business that started as just a desire to use my self-defense instructing background in Krav Maga and kickboxing to help other people. And also business side, I wanted to be able to just start a business, and that was something, that entrepreneurial spirit that was in me, that actually started in the service. And I just kind of started doing it, and I would tell people, like, I truly believe that we all go through obstacles in life. We all face battles. Some are easier to see than others. And I would tell people, it's like when you get hit with that battle or that obstacle, you have a choice. You either choose to quit or take the easy path, or you choose to rise it up. And it was something that just stuck. And I would say it to people over and over, not as a business, but like truly as like, hey, if you adopt this, it can really change your life. Like it's changed mine. And people would make fun of me and they would say like, oh, rise it up, like rise up. And it really just became something where eventually I started to see a lot of people. I would make like videos on social media and just trying to shine light in a dark world in a lot of areas. And it turned into something that I was seeing a lot of people reach out to me. And then what really sunk was when the people that were making fun of me started saying it to me in a way of like, they weren't making fun of me anymore. They were actually being serious. And then I was like, okay, like this is something good. And then it just has become like my life motto. But Rise It Up is, I have a background in self-defense with Krav Maga kickboxing. So, and I have a real passion for youth and just the future of our country and future generations. And so I just kind of took what I have been doing, and just started with helping other people. And it was really all about, I want to be able to help other people rise up in their own life in their own way, spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And I use everything that I have in my toolbox to be able to do that. It's from, I mean, I've had a lot of kids that I've had opportunities to like talking with their parents. They are no longer taking like anxiety medication. I had kids who wanted to take their own life that are now, you would never believe it. I had kids that were doing drugs and hanging around the wrong people, and now they're straight A students, and they're like, it's just amazing. And to me, it's just about loving other people and using everything that I have to help other people. And that kind of really started to grow when I worked for a business coach I learned just a lot of different things, and it sparked that exposure lit a fire inside of me of just different ways that I could help other people. And I just kind of walked into it. But for me, I just love to, now it's majority through like coaching, which could be virtual, it could be in person. I love in person a lot more personally. Self-defense side of things, with youth, adults as well, small groups. I have a cabin that I've done different retreats and stuff at in Eastern Tennessee. It's just about getting people around, in that case, like a fire pit, just talking life and going on a hike and doing some fun stuff and getting away from the stresses of everyday world. And I tell people it's disconnecting to reconnect. And there's just a lot of different tools in the toolbox to be able to take somebody where they are, understand, okay, this is their dreams and their desires, and not let life's obstacles and adversity, because they are coming, whether you're in it now or not, they're coming. And using that obstacle and adversity as almost more of turning the perspective from an obstacle to an opportunity and helping them to rise up in their own ways.
So, Bryan, thank you for that. Yeah, that's beautiful. So, service to others, I believe that obviously we serve our country, and sometimes we just take that as just a saying, right? Serve your country. But service to people, I mean, that's even, I think it's one of the most biblical fundamentals, right? Like Jesus said, I believe it's better to give than to receive, right? And I think people tend to misunderstand that. Well, if I give so much, then I'll be left without anything. But I think people don't understand that the more you give out, it's just, I don't know, call it karma, whatever you want to call it, right? The reciprocity of energy is that you get things coming to you that you never expect, right? And it may not be monetary, it may not be physical things, but it could just be a happy life of just flowing with people, and just, which makes you healthier and makes you more of an impact, right, on people. So, and changing lives, I think, has to be the most beautiful reward you can get.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can
So,
also make my money.
yeah. Money is kind of like a collateral thing that you get from doing these things, right? I mean, I think it just seems to like tag itself onto the reward, right? Oh, wow, I also getting paid for this. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Bryan, so how much of when you talk with people, and when you do your camps, or when you do your talks, or when you share time with groups, how much of the military side, do you ever bring the military? Does that veteran side of you, that identity, does that flow with you? Do you use that? Do you talk about that?
Oh, absolutely. I would say anytime I hear like veteran, it's like it lights a fire in my soul, because I love it. I'm so passionate about it. I had an opportunity in the reserves to serve on a military funeral detail, honors detail, and that to this day is one of my most rewarding experiences I've had. I did 195 military funerals, and I would do that full time if I could. And it's just something that ability to, again, it goes back to like when you sign that dotted line, like you're saying, hey, I'm second to your mission and to the country and to the citizens of the United States. Like that's big. And most people, when they sign it, they don't really realize that. But it's when I meet somebody who's served, regardless of when it was, regardless of how long it was, it tells me a lot. And regardless of how their experience was, I try to do everything I can. I mean, I put out literally branch flags, U.S. branches outside of my coffee shop. It was one of the first things that I wanted to do, but it took me a while to actually be able to put, like, to get it fully to how it is now.
Right.
But to this day, like every time I see that, I just have so much pride and joy in knowing the people, the stories, the places I've gone in the service, the things that I've learned. I would not be anywhere close to where I am today if it wasn't for my time with my dad in the service and then my time in the service myself. I mean, so yeah, absolutely. Absolutely love the veteran community. I try to do anything I can to support other veterans.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah. Yeah. It's important that we do what we can for our comrades. So tell me something now, moving into a little bit, and as we wind down here, and again, this is a show about highlighting what all of us or some of us struggles that we might have, just the mental games that we play with ourselves. And so tell me a little bit. So when you decided on the coffee shop, did you have any fear about that, about business? Did you feel like I'm going to rent a place, I'm going to buy a place, and who's going to supply my coffee? I mean, what are some of those kind of mental games that you had to go through?
Yeah, I would say so. I didn't have any fears about business. I knew that I could grow the business. That was not one concern of mine at all. My concern was getting into a business that I never used to drink coffee really prior to taking over a coffee shop, which most people would say is insane. But for me, from the beginning, it wasn't a coffee shop. Yeah, we serve coffee, and I didn't know where I was going to get coffee from because at the time I took over the business, I wasn't satisfied with the quality of coffee that they had and knowing like where they got it. This happened through a connection with somebody that I coached in kickboxing that was a firefighter. He connected me with a veteran Marine, and he was also a firefighter. He's like, hey, you need to just meet this guy. I think his coffee might be a little high price. I don't know, but just talk to him. So I went and talked to them. Still to this day, I get my beans from them. Still to this day, I was over at his house a couple weeks ago, like just having dinner. I ended up staying the night over at his house, just talking business with him. And he's a very successful, several years ahead of me. He's just very successful at what he does. He's a great guy, really cares about helping other people, and he keeps you straight with, hey, you need to do this, don't do this. And so for me, the fear was more of if my staff leaves, because I took over the staff too. If my staff leaves, this business is doomed.
Oh
Because
my.
I couldn't tell you the difference at the time, different types of drinks. Like I had no idea. And I surely couldn't make them.
Right.
Again, like stepped in just out of faith. I really believe with all of my heart that I was led and just called to go open or like take this coffee shop over. And I would never buy a business the way that I bought it now that I know. But I don't, just from like how quickly I moved and everything, but I have seen just what I saw in the service of if you take care of people, especially as a leader, but in general, if you take care of people, they will take care of you. If you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to take criticism, you're willing to take hits, man, like you're gonna mess up. If you don't stop and you don't quit and you choose to rise up, eventually you'll be successful. And like for me, I went in, I said, I took over a business that I realized things were not going as well as I saw before I bought the business.
Right.
And I was like, well, I have no choice because I'm not at a place where I can keep taking hits like big hits of a business like that financially. So I said, I'm going to use everything I have with experience from being the right hand man to a very successful business coach to my time in the service. And I said, I'm going to serve people and I'm going to get the community involved. I went to several local businesses, built relationships with business owners, and just put on a bunch of events from like the comedy shows to live music, we had a Zumba class at our coffee shop. We did Rise and Shine yoga. And then now we have a run club that meets. So I'm really disrupting the way people do business. And that was my goal from the beginning. Of it's not about me. It's not about Billy Goat Coffee Cafe. This is we're going to change people's souls for forever and generations and be able to shine light and spread love to people. And it's not me. It's just like, I just try to be the platform that we can do that and make it available and we can present opportunities. And it's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of work to be able to go out of your way, but it's fun. Like it's just doing life with people and the stories that I get to meet, like people and the impacts I've been able to see the coffee shop make already by doing these things. It takes those fears away in a lot of ways. Like, I mean, they're still there, but it's like, okay. I mean, like this summer has been really slow for us business wise. And June and July tend to be really slow for the restaurant industry, specifically coffee shops. And so it's really kind of at times, I'm like those fears of, man, did I make the dumbest decision in my life? Or like what's going on? But it makes you better. It makes you think. It makes you get creative. It makes you collaborate. And those like hard moments, because I mean, it's like ups and downs. I mean, today I could feel on top of the world. Tomorrow I could feel in the deepest, darkest valley. How am I going to survive this business?
Right.
And I think that's entrepreneurship in general. I think that's life in general, but it's surrounding myself with people that have the knowledge, the experience, and they can help, and the willingness to lend a helping hand, and then knowing it's, hey, like I'm gonna serve them before I ask for anything in return. And that sometimes it means I had to take my pocketbook and I had to go buy something from another business to show,
Right.
hey, like I actually do really value what you do, and how can we make this work in the long run sustainably?
Right. Right.
So to me, it's a people business, and I'm really good at that.
Good. Good. So networking is a huge part of what you do now as well. So let's get, just as we wind down here. So in the quiet moments when Bryan is by himself, and as you just described, all of these things that are happening in our minds, family, business, personal, where does Bryan find the time to center himself? How do you, what are some of the things that you might want to share that help you, just meditation, prayer, whatever it is? Obviously working out is part of it, but those quiet times more than anything when you're alone, and what do you feel works for you?
For me, it's worship music, it's prayer, time in prayer, time reading the Bible. Because I mean, I've had moments in my life where, as much as I like to work out, there's moments where I don't want to work out, and there's moments where I'm like, I can't work out. And it's in those moments, like I have several different things, like I've just taken the time to learn myself. The moments where life just, you feel like you're at rock bottom, it's in those moments where I've learned what tools, I would say, have helped pull me out of those deep dark dungeons. And it always comes back to, like, my faith has been, I would say, the biggest thing. And even that, there's components where I'm like, man, like I'm frustrated, like God, I'm frustrated with you, and it's reality.
Right.
Where it doesn't change like my belief of how God has been in my life in so many areas. And that's what I try to really invest in my relationship with our creator.
Right.
I try to get around the right people. And I mean, I found that when I'm doing those things, it doesn't matter the activity I'm doing. The activity doesn't tend to matter. It's more of like, where's my heart? Who am I around? Are we aligned? And, or are they just going to feed into like, hey, just be down and all this stuff and bring that negativity? But in those deep, dark moments, for me, it's been, sometimes it's listening to worship music as I work out. A lot over the past couple of years, it's been just picking up a guitar, strumming, and singing from the heart. Like, actually, right before this call, that's what I was doing. I wrote a song and was literally just like, just doing that. It changes on the day. It changes in season. Sometimes as I need to pick up a phone and talk to somebody that I know is going to either kick me in the rear end and say, Bryan, get out of your feelings. Just get yourself together. Or it's somebody who I need to love and show compassion. And like, Bryan, like, do you realize like what you've done in the past? And then I need to hear it because I forget it, which sounds crazy. Like all the stuff I know that I've been able to do at my age, there's still moments where I feel like, man, like, is it like, am I good enough? Am I able to do this? So it's a reminder of something, that listening to music, listening to sermons, that just kind of kicks it in gear for me.
Excellent. Thank you, Bryan. Yeah, that's wonderful, man. We share a lot of similar things that we could talk about offline. So as we close out, Bryan, if there is, first of all, what would you tell someone who is in the service right now, something deep felt, if you had to, in retrospect, give someone that's transitioning out of the service some kind of personal advice, not so much professional advice or what you need to do for the rest of your life, but if you had to share something from deep down, from inside of you, and you seem to be a very spiritual person, but what would that be, like, just in general?
I would say to take some time to look in the mirror and really, really do some reflection of, what do you really love to do? Like, what is it in those moments where you're like broken, and in those moments where you're on the mountaintops? Like, think about those times and realize that no uniform defines your identity. Like, because eventually, whether you spend a career in the military or whether you spend one tour, eventually you're taking the uniform off. I think that is a very hard transition, regardless of, and I talk to a lot of people of varying backgrounds, to understand it didn't really matter when they left the service. They all had to go through the transition. And it didn't matter. Some of the people that just served one tour and got out were way more like, oh man, this is great. They weren't as fearful as people who spent their entire lives in the service. So for me, I took that as you have a life well beyond the service. And now I would never tell people to just get out of service. I would never tell people to stay in service. I tell them and say, what do you love to do? If you really love doing what you're doing, getting up every day and serving people, then keep doing it. Because the military is an awesome lifestyle.
Right.
And it's an awesome career opportunity. But if you dread every day, like don't let fears of what people that have never served a day in their life outside of the service, like have never stepped outside of living a military life, don't let those people strike fear into you saying you can't, like, you're crazy, you can't do this. Because you can make more money out of the service. You can have a lot of opportunities that you would have in the service outside the service, but it's all about taking that approach outside of that box of, hey, I'm in my current situation in the service, and asking, what do you want to do with your life? And then taking the step and not letting fear be the driving factor. And I would tell people, I mean, I served 195 military funerals where I handed folded flags to next of kins, from kids to 90-year-olds. And it's something that one day we're all going to end up there. And taking the time, most people don't want to face it, but asking those questions of like deep life questions, because life is so short and it could be over today. It could be over tomorrow. We don't know the timeline. So to live in that moment of fear and what you're currently doing, I think is shortcutting a lot of the gifts of life. And for me, I would say that's the biggest thing, is like that identity piece of really understanding who you are. You are so much more than a person outside of a uniform.
Right. And I think just to caveat on that, and that was deep, is that I think we all have a personal purpose, right? It's not, I don't think we're here by happenstance. I think we all do have a personal purpose, but there's always the hard right over the easy left, right? What decisions we make in our lives sometimes will affect that. But again, I think intuition and belief in yourself is very important, right? And obviously it helps to believe in your creator, like you said. I think we serve a higher power. Intelligent design has always been my understanding, right? I can't believe in other things, right? So, well, Bryan, thank you so much just for your insight. Thank you for sharing deep down from the heart. Again, the show is the focus of what we do, or what I'm trying to do here, is to bring reality to people's hearts and minds, right? It's not, wow, this guy has a business, he must be fantastic. And then there's always something below the skin surface, right? We're all struggling with challenges that are, depending on how we were brought up from youth, we all have a different and we all have different pain points, and we all have pain thresholds. Different people can withstand more pain than others, either psychologically or physically, right? But really, it's just, at the end of the day, is just live one day at a time, right? Just live one day at a time, do the best you can that day. And I think that what you've shared today is a beautiful experience. And I wish you, Bryan, and I hope to meet you one day in person, maybe stop by the coffee shop. Thank you for being on the show, man. Any last words before we chime out here? And I'll put all your handles and everything once we edit. People will be able to get a hold of you if they need to. So, yeah.
So this has been amazing. I always look forward to opportunities to get to meet new people, and especially veterans that are taking the time to not only share like their story, but share other people's story, and being able to use like a platform to really just help other people. Right. I think it says a lot. It goes a long ways. And whether millions of people reach these videos or whether it's just one person, like
if you're one person, you can change the life of one person. That's all that matters, right?
Absolutely.
All right, my friend. God bless you. You have a wonderful rest of the day, and thank you for being on the show. And we will be in touch, sir.
Awesome. Thank you very much.